welcome everybody, and today's session we're going to be looking at an introduction to TetraMap, which I'm quite excited about learning a bit more myself. For those that have never joined us before, just very quickly, just to tell you a little bit about MyPeopleClub. So James and I are co-founders of MyPeopleClub, which is essentially an online membership platform for HR professionals, coaches and trainers. Our website is www.mypeopleclub.com, so you can find out loads more information there. And it's full of HR coaching and training resources. So, you know, we've got over 500 documents on the site now, which is ever growing. Loads of resources, templates, tools, trackers, coaching aids and training aids, like things like case studies, icebreakers, everything that really that supports you in doing your job well. So that's all the stuff you can find inside MyPeopleClub. In addition to that, we have loads of math classes. So these are released at the beginning of every month by an outside expert, so partnering people. And it's almost like a little mini video series that comes complete with workbooks and quizzes at the end, and you can download a certificate if you pass. And then halfway through the month, we do a live Q&A session with that expert, so you can ask questions and find out more about the topic of the month. We also have a business directory, so partnering businesses. So I know as a HR person, when I had a big global team, you know, we didn't just look after HR, we also looked after things like health and safety, first aid, stationery, and God knows what else. So I know that sometimes you need to find all these people. So again, trying to make MyPeopleClub a bit of a one-stop shop that you can find everything you need in one place. We've got loads of partnering businesses in our business directories, and who also offer our members discounts. So things like the botanist, loads of bars, restaurants, things like that. So you can make your money back if you dine out a lot, and you are just about allowed out again now. So you can definitely make use of those going forward. So for today's session, I will hand over to James, who will tell us all about TetraMap.
Brilliant, thank you, Chris. So a bit of an outline to today's session. I'm going to give you a background to TetraMap and talk about the 4 elements which make up the TetraMap model. We'll go through those in a bit of detail, but importantly, I'll share how you can use TetraMap and your understanding of these elements effectively, depending on what your role is, either as a business owner, someone that's self-employed, or within a business. Now, I just wanted to put this up here as a bit of reflection and motivation. And a quote there: "We remember things more when they invoke our feelings and emotions." And this is something that holds true, I think, throughout business. So whether it's your interaction with a coach, with a manager, with a team colleague, with a supplier, but also with customers. Customers remember things more when they have a feeling associated with it. And that's really important when it comes to TetraMap, because TetraMap is about tapping into what motivates people, what inspires people, how they prefer to be communicated with, the type of reactions that you would get from people when you communicate in a certain way. So for me, there are plenty of other psychometric models that we're kind of going through over these Lunchtime Learns, and there are kind of documents in the resource center on them. Some of them have a lot of detail to them because they're really good for kind of deep leadership development and to really understand yourself and progress through a leadership career. And there are some that are useful when you need a bit of a quicker route through to self-awareness and understanding how you like to behave and communicate and how others do. So let's go into TetraMap a bit more detail and the 4 elements. So what is TetraMap? I think the important thing to say is that it's not a psychometric test. So when I mention things like Myers-Briggs, you've got things like DISC. These are tests which have quite a lot of detail to them and more substance, for want of a better word. And they're really good when it comes to your own personal development, understanding about yourself, and then ultimately understanding about other people and how you interact with them and how you lead them well, how you coach them well and work well with them in a team. TetraMap isn't so much about the psychometrics, it's about thinking about our behavior. And it's recognizing that 2 people can be alike, they can be quite similar in terms of how they come across, but actually there are some subtle differences. So it's really trying not to pigeonhole you into one of the elements that I'll share in a bit more detail. The essence of TetraMap is it's linked to nature and the metaphor that it has with nature. So if you think about kind of a little acorn that needs to grow into a tree, it needs 4 elements to do that. And I'll explain those kind of in a bit of detail on the next slide. It needs the earth and the air and the water and fire. But nature is all about diversity, sustainability. So just kind of living and keeping going, and a tree dropping more acorns that grow into more trees, encouraging that interdependence and synergy, so synergy between the elements. And that's where TetraMap comes from. It talks about the 4 elements in terms of behaviors, and the idea that as a human being, we're not going to pigeonhole into one of these elements. We're actually got a bit of all of them in us. And day to day, we typically would demonstrate certain behaviors that align to one of the elements more than another. But in different situations, maybe in stress, in conflict, then a different side of us can come out. Perhaps a blunter side, a more direct side, a more planful side, maybe more panicky, maybe more worried about other people. But when we understand where we go to day to day, where we go to in stress or in conflict, then it helps us manage ourselves, manage our behaviors, and know what to expect in other people. And the tetra side of TetraMap comes from the shape of the tetrahedron. So if you've ever been to the Eden projects down in Cornwall, that great big dome that's there, it's made up entirely of tetrahedrons. It's recognized as being the strongest shape. A tetrahedron is essentially 4 equally sized triangles put together into one shape, into a tetrahedron. So it's that strength and that similarity of each of those triangles in the shape, but also the differences between them. They all face a different way. They all have their own values. So what are the 4 elements of TetraMap? Well, as I said, for an acorn to turn into a big tree, it needs the 4 elements of nature. So it needs the earth to embed in and to grow into. It needs the air, it needs the oxygen from the air. It needs the water from the rain, from the clouds, and it needs the fire, the heat from the sun. And this is the link of TetraMap to nature. And they're called elements because they are the 4 elements of nature. But also think about it from a perspective of when you're observing someone behaving in a certain way. If they're absolutely in a brilliant zone, maybe they're speaking to a room full of people, maybe they're building something, maybe they're being creative. When you know that they're playing to their strengths and working in a way and behaving in a way and communicating in a way that is true to them, we often say he's in his element or she's in her element. And that's why I love this link to TetraMap, because someone is being true to their earth style or true to their air style or water or fire, which I'll explain in a bit more detail. So equity and sustainability, to encourage that interdependence and synergy, then we need each of the 4 elements. We need to know what they all mean. We need to recognize that we have all 4 in us. So let's explore them in a bit more detail. So the first one, earth. What can we learn about earth? People who have a strong earth characteristic are very firm. Their focus is all about moving forward to achieve goals. It's about the outcomes for them. Now, in terms of when you're trying to engage someone who has quite a strong earth element to them, then you've got to be confident and you've got to be bold in your approach. So when you communicate with them, you've just got to get to the point with what you're saying. They're someone that doesn't necessarily need you to use 100 words when 10 will do. You don't need to spend 20 minutes engaging with them when you can do it in 2. Just get straight to that point, but do it confidently and boldly. Also be really well prepared with the facts, because they'll know if you're maybe making them up. They'll know if something doesn't quite add up. And if that's the case, the risk is that you'll lose them within that conversation. So you've got to be prepared with the right facts. And for them, they need to know what they get out of working with you. They need to know what they get out of collaborating with you, get out of what the conversation is. Why would they turn up to your networking meeting? Why would they come and work with your business? What do they get from it? When there are a room full of people in a networking event, who's in there? Does it help their business? Does it help their relationships? Are they likely to win some business? Are they likely to get more clients? Are they likely to become a client of someone? They might find people who are offering products and services that's of interest to them. You've got to be really clear in telling someone with this strong earth element what they're going to get from working with you and collaborating with you. And the important thing is, when you're talking with them, is to finish on time. So if you say to someone who has this strong earth element, I just need 2 minutes of your time. If you start going into 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, you're going to start frustrating them. You set their expectation, it's 2 minutes. They're expecting you to get to the point. Make sure that you do. If you start taking longer, you'll soon know, because their body language will change. Their arms will fold. They'll start looking away from you. If they've got something to distract themselves, like a phone or a book or a notepad, they'll suddenly become more focused on that than you. So really make sure that you know how long you need with them and you spend exactly that time with them. Now, people who have the stronger air element are very clear, and they want to have a plan, and they want structure in terms of when they work with you. Someone with a strong air element is the kind of person that loves going to IKEA, buying a new sideboard and getting back and ripping it open, taking the instructions out, reading them page by page, lining all the screws up, lining all the bits of wood up against the wall, and making sure they follow those instructions step by step. As someone personally, me, who's got quite a strong air element to me, when it was my birthday and my prayers were answered of having a Lego set brought for me and embracing that inner childhood, I was absolutely in my element. Lego comes with a manual. It comes with the instructions to follow step by step. There's bags of bits that I can empty onto the table and put into color order and size order. Is absolutely how I think and how I behave and what makes sense to me and when I thrive and when I'm in a good place. So to engage someone like me, someone who's got that strong air, you've got to be really clear and accurate and logical. So what you're saying has to make sense. If you were talking through the process of maybe engaging someone into a workshop with you that was all day, or even something like this, a half-hour lunchtime learn, you've got to be really clear with them on how that would work, that they've got to register somewhere first to reserve their place, what they can expect in terms of registration confirmation, emails that tell them where to be and when, or emails that tell them what link to go on and what time and what will happen once they're on the session. They want to know how long it's for. They want to know what happens if they turn up 5 minutes late. Can they still be let in? If they miss a session entirely, will they get to see a replay? What happens afterwards? Will there be time for questions? All these type of things are what an air thinks about. They need that accuracy. They need that logic. So it's really important that you give that to them. You give them structure, and a bit like people who have a strong earth presence, you need to have the facts and information, because someone with a strong air element will ask you lots of questions. They will delve into it. They want to make sure that they've got all the answers so they're 100% clear. So make sure you've got lots of information. And you need to have that evidence and proof to back it up, same as with an air preference. Now, as you can imagine, someone who is a strong air has lots of questions. They're the people at the end of a talk who will stick their hand up and start working through the questions that they've got. And it's important to make sure that you allow time for that. So like we do with our lunchtime learns, we always try and leave time at the end for questions. Some people like to ask them away from a session on the Facebook group or maybe by email. Some people want to ask them right here and now whilst they've got our time and whilst we're talking about this subject matter. So make sure that you allow time for an air to ask questions in order for them to get that clarity. Now, someone with a strong water preference, they're very emotionally connected, very much about their well-being, very much about caring for other people. So to engage them, you've got to be reassuring. They've got to believe what you're saying, and they want to feel there's a bit of a personal connection with you. A really good thing you can do when you've met someone and you've picked up that maybe they have got this strong water preference is to remember something about them. Like we did with Jackie at the beginning when she came on, we talked about the fact that we remembered she's just moved to Wales. And so we touched on that as the thumbs up show. Because sometimes people like that connection. It shows that you remember them. It shows they feel valued and that you value the relationship with them. So it's always good to create that time for dialogue and be prepared to spend a bit of time, and more time than you would spend with an earth person, to get engaged in the conversation, to get involved in the conversation. Because ultimately that's about progressing that relationship with them and connecting with them. So always make sure that you allow that time when you're trying to engage someone with a strong water element to have the conversation, to build the relationship, to talk about different stuff. Someone with a strong fire element, they're very inspirational. They're very creative. They're always full of new ideas and new possibilities. So for them during lockdown, they've probably been watching all the Netflix series that they've been meaning to watch for months and months and months. They probably started decorating the house thinking it was a great idea, but then got completely bored and thought, I better just wait till lockdown's finished and I'll get a decorator in to finish it off. But they're very impulsive as well. And they love those, the inspirational ideas. They love your energy and the way you talk and interact to be very bright and visual. And as I said, full of energy. And it's good for you to come at them with ideas. But also be prepared to go a bit off track. So when you're having a conversation with someone that has that strong fire element, their conversation can weave left and right and up and down as new ideas pop into their head. They want to bring them into the conversation and ask your opinion and share their opinion. So it's important that you know what the purpose of your conversation with a fire element is, so that you can ultimately get back on track with it when you need to. But to engage them, focus on possibilities, focus on opportunities, make it a conversation that's full of energy, it's full of tone, and that you finish it with impact, make it memorable. Where can we use TetraMap? When we use the TetraMap assessment profile as an individual or as a team, and you get to know how someone is wired, what their preferred element is, where can you start using that? So importantly, just in how we communicate is really important. So by understanding kind of how to approach someone who's a bit different to you, and knowing how not to approach them, means that you can get your message across to them first time, because it will be in a way that they prefer to receive it. If I know that one person likes to receive a message that's straight to the point, one sentence emails, don't have to worry with hello, goodbye, how are you, stay safe, and those usual intros and outros, and I can just get to the point, then I'll do it. If I know someone needs more of that emotional connection when I talk to them, then I'll make sure I include it. I'll talk to them in a way that they need to hear it, rather than how I need to hear it or how I need to give it. Now, also when you're trying to motivate someone, if you think that you are a manager, maybe you're a coach, and you need to motivate someone to keep them inspired and keep them engaged and interested, then you'll want to play to what motivates them. So if it's motivating someone who's more of an earth preference, then you might talk more about the outcomes, more talk about success, about winning, about what will be achieved at the end. With someone that's more of a water preference, you might talk about the collaboration, how they'll get to meet new people, how they'll get to build new relationships, how it will strengthen your relationship with them, because that will motivate them more, that will appeal more to what they like. And if it was someone who's got that strong fire element, then they'll love and be motivated by the fact that they can be creative, that they can bring some of their energy, their enthusiasm and ideas to whatever it is you're doing. And in terms of decision making, if you know someone that might need to get someone to agree to collaborate with you, to get someone to agree to buy your product or buy your service or pay for your service, it's helpful to know how they like to be spoken to in order to try and get that yes to them. So as someone that runs workshops, if I'm speaking to someone and I can pick up that maybe they are more of an earth element, then I'll just get straight to the point. I'll tell them when the workshop is, how much it costs, how long it's for, and what they're going to get from it, why it will make a difference to them and why they should be there. If I'm talking to someone who's more of a fire preference, I'll talk about how it's different to any other workshop they've been to before, how they're going to learn something they've never learned before, and that it will wow them in terms of what it will mean for them personally and professionally. I'll pick up on what motivates them in order to get them to say yes. Now, where can we use TetraMap further? We can use it within recruitment. So it's not about asking someone if they are an earth, air, water, fire, but it's about asking questions that help us pick up on some of the behavior, some of the nuances that might give us some clues. So it might be the beginning of an interview as we're just coming out of lockdown, and you might say to them, it's been interesting times, how's it been for you? What's it meant? If someone is more of an earth preference, they're just going to get straight to the point and say, it was pretty crap, really. I hated it from the beginning. I just wanted to get it out of the way and move on and get out of lockdown. Someone who's more of an air preference might tell you how it was important for them to keep structure to their life, how they wanted to make sure that they were applying for jobs from Monday to Friday, but they kept their weekends for themselves, and how actually they made sure they had their hour of exercise on a certain day, and how they arranged regular weekly calls with their friends or family. They kept that structure. Someone with a water preference might tell you how it was brilliant to step back and reflect on life, to reflect on business, to spend time to connect with people that they've not spoken to in years via Zoom, because before they lived in a different town, in a different county, even a different country, and they didn't ring them as much, and it was difficult to see them face to face, but they took the opportunity to connect back with people and restore some of those relationships. And someone with a strong fire element might tell you, as I said before, about actually, how they've been able to catch up on stuff. They started a new hobby, they've redecorated the house, they've done something new. It made them and gave them the space to be creative. So by asking good questions, it will give you an idea of what their preferences are. And that helps with recruitment, because when you've taken a team maybe through TetraMap and you understand the profile of your team according to TetraMap, you can think about where maybe you've got gaps. Maybe there are gaps in the strengths that each of those elements bring. There might be gaps in terms of people that are very results and outcome focused. There could be gaps with people who help keep to a plan and keep to structure and have an eye on when things are slipping and what we can do. There might be a gap in terms of people that think about the well-being of the team and to make sure that everyone is feeling good, feeling connected, and that they want to make sure that there are monthly get-togethers or that the Christmas party is organised or whatever it might be. Or there might be a gap in people who bring the energy, bring the enthusiasm, bring new ideas, new ways of working together, new ways of engaging other people. If you know that there's something missing from your team, then as you're recruiting, you can think about where you fill those gaps and how people, you can pick up in an interview how people can demonstrate the qualities that they bring and maybe what TetraMap profile that they've got. From a personal development perspective, TetraMap, like other personality profiling tools and behavior tools, is all around self-awareness. It helps you understand yourself better and what you need to be motivated, to be inspired, and to work at your best, and therefore what you need around you, who you need around you, what you need in your job, or how you go about running your business. As a coach or a leader, and we talked around motivation earlier, it's important to know how you can help other people increase their performance, increase collaboration. By knowing what they need to work better and to perform better, then you can play to that. It's also important as a coach to think about how you give people feedback, because how I would give someone with a strong water preference feedback would be completely different to someone who's got that strong earth preference. With a water preference, I'm going to maybe kind of give them that bad news sandwich. I'm going to give them some praise first, tell them what good things they're doing. I'll then give them some constructive feedback of areas where I think they can be doing better, and show and demonstrate my support in helping them improve in those areas. And then I'd finish it off on a high again, sharing something in terms of positive feedback. With someone who's got more of a stronger earth preference, they will just want me to get to the point. They will just say, please don't beat around the bush. Just tell me what I need to do differently. What do you expect of me? Why do you need it? And I'll get on with it. That's how they roll. And so you can know how to adapt how you coach people and how you lead people. And also from a customer perspective, it's important not only to understand how customers will make their buying decisions. I've used the example of a workshop earlier in terms of how you get a prospective customer to say yes. But when they are a customer and you're engaging with them through your marketing, through your customer service channels, or if you are the person that engages the customers because you run your business, you know maybe what they need to hear. And particularly when things are going wrong. You know, going through lockdown was a great example where individuals and business owners and businesses of a bigger size really needed to get their communications right with customers, needed to be open about what was going on, be really clear about what they're doing to support customers as best they can, be honest that they don't have all the answers, be open and sharing to say, we care about working with you, we care about making sure you are supported as best we can, and we're going to keep in contact with you as often as possible to make sure that we're helping you. Sometimes that's what customers need to hear. They need to hear a message of support and a message that keeps them as a loyal customer, that is true to them and is how they want to hear it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many ways in which you can use TetraMap, use your knowledge of people's behavior and skills and what motivates them and what inspires them to get the best out of them. These are just a few examples. If you want to know more about TetraMap, then please do get in contact. I'm a qualified facilitator, so I can take you through the process. I can talk more about how it can be applied for you personally or for your business. If you're a member of MyPeopleClub, within the coaching area, there's a whole section on psychometrics, and there's an introduction to TetraMap in there, and point you towards where you can find out more about becoming qualified or just to use it for yourself or your business. That kind of brings the TetraMap bit to a close. I'm just going to hand to Chris just to wrap up a couple of little bits.
Thanks for that, James. It was a really good session, that, and it's yeah, I love anything to do with psychometrics, and that's really, really interesting. And like James says, there's loads more resources on their platform, so please do check it out if you're a member, or if you're not a member, please do check out the website, and there's loads of information about what you can get on the platform. One of the other things that's out now, for those that don't know about it, we've got an online digital course, which is only £27, which is really, really good value. There's like James and I have been coaching for something like 40 years between us. So we've put in some really good tips about mindset, how to overcome challenges, how to progress in whatever it is that you want to do. If you do want to get in touch with us, you can email us. That's our website address, and you can also join on the website. And then you can follow us on numerous things now. So we've been growing our online presence. So we're on Facebook. There's also a Facebook group, which is mainly our HR community, HR coaching and training community. So if you are in those fields, please do feel free to join our Facebook group. There's also a page. You can also follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Next time, we do these sessions every fortnight. So next time I'll be taking us through how to be assertive. So there's difference between being aggressive or overbearing and being assertive. So we're going to look at that, and we'll delve into that in a little bit more detail. So hope you all enjoyed the session, and we will look forward to seeing you in a fortnight's time.